should. I'm just saying we're examining that, and that's why I'd like till the 1st of November. And of course, in the question, if you do a questionnaire when they get here, obviously we want to know a little bit more about their specific knowledge of the case. But so yes, we agree there needs to be a questionnaire. We may want to add some questions to that questionnaire. We're just not sure, but we will be by the 1st of November.
And what we did last time, Your Honor, that worked very well is we had that questionnaire. The parties went through that questionnaire. We actually then had a dialogue where we agreed based on certain responses of jurors to exclude, and so they were already gone by consent, but we already identified ones that would need additional questioning. And then, of course, there was additional questioning with the court and the parties in private for either the jurors by their questionnaire or by responses in court that just needed further inquiry. And again, we were able to do that in 2 days.
And Your Honor, we would ask that there be direct supervision by you of the issuance of the jury summons, how they're picked. There were huge questions, obviously, after we learned of the clerk's conduct about how certain people maybe got on the venire and others did not. She was apparently excusing people, we believe, and of course this litigation would help us. Litigation that's on appeal, of course, Circuit let us develop that. Her daughter appeared on the jury venire, and she, and I guess at the time, either I nor Mr. Waters thought that was unusual, but she was talking to both of us about how she makes a great juror. She talked to me, I know she talked to you. I'm just saying, I'm not saying expecting that to happen again. We've got a new clerk, but in terms of summonsing jurors, there's a process. The Supreme Court, I found out later on, that there's a list. Actually, they're generated in Columbia, and then the clerk excuses before she issues, he or she issues those summons. There's a screening process. That's what I'm concerned about. In other words, the big list will come from Columbia, but how it gets narrowed down before we ever see it, that would be me and Mr. Waters, concerns me greatly.
Again, this is the first that I've heard of any issues with that. I mean, my understanding is with Judge Newman's supervision, obviously a number of ones that were excused based on, patent exemptions such as over 65 who claimed that were non-residency issues and that sort of thing.
Right. That would be my understanding of what normally happens
and when
we pick a jury here.
We had the whole panel arrive. Yes, there was something like that. Obviously, she was excused. There were also people that had close relationships with with Alec Murdaugh and the Murdaugh family. And of course, we vetted all of that and excused as appropriate.
Well, but what was never done, and I tried to get the list, compare the initial list that was generated in Columbia to what actually were summons that were issued. And certainly there were people that the clerk said,
they don't live here. They're over 65.
Right. Dead, whatever. I get that. But if we never got the original list, so we don't know. And again, call me suspicious, but when we have evidence that the clerk of court is attempting to influence the jury to obtain a guilty verdict so she could sell more books, when did that start? Did it start when she started winnowing down people she thought might be helpful to us? And I'm not saying that could happen again, but I think I need to say to the court, I never expected it to happen the first time. I've been doing this 50 years. I've never seen a clerk of court interfere in this process. And clearly our Supreme Court found she did.
Okay. Well, I can tell you, Mr. Harpootlian, I certainly don't mind overseeing it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That's for sure.
And again,
Mr. Waters, I will, wherever this trial is going to be, I will certainly make sure that it is on the up and up. I can promise you that.
And just to be clear, there's absolutely no evidence that there was any shenanigans with that part of the process.
Yeah, I haven't heard of any of that, but, we'll just make sure that everything is done properly.
Thank you, Your Honor. That's all I'm asking. And again, I would agree. We were never allowed to look at that piece of it for our motion for a new trial. It wasn't relevant to that. And the clerk was not going to, she never admitted she talked to any jurors. The court, both Gene Toll and the Supreme Court found her to be a horrible liar. So you have to prove it extrinsically. We don't need to go there. We may go there in our federal case, but we don't need to go there. I'm just saying, call me naive. I just want to make sure that you are in charge of this process. And
Okay.
it's not deferred to some functionary.
No, I don't have a problem with that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, the next
Very
motion.
quickly, if I could
Oh,
just
yes.
say that as we got the dumps from the clerk's office with the jurors, and it had the numbers on there with the over 65s and had the return from those individuals.
You did get those?
That's my
We
recollection.
did, but the question is, who got off that list before we got it?
Okay.
That's the problem. And do we have any
You
evidence?
just
of
want
that?
the original list.
I want the
is what you
original
want.
list, and I want you
I understand.
I want you to have the original list. So when the summons go out, you know that everybody was on that summons list was summoned unless you were told they were dead, and again, I'm a little paranoid after our last experience, not realizing the clerk was trying to fix the jury.
Okay. Well, I will, I'll make sure I speak with the clerk before that process.
And Your Honor, certainly Mr. Waters is not vouching for her veracity and truthfulness here today. I understand that we're here because she attempted to fix the jury, right? Am
I think
missing
he I think he understands. Let me hear from you, Mr. Ward.
Well, look,
I
there
think
is
he
no, absolutely
understands
no,
why we're here today.
I went through a lot, and